Yandere High School is a Minecraft roleplay that likes to pretend it's following the plot, but in reality, it's just some friends hanging out for like 20 minutes with bits of lore every now and then. This was back in the day when these kinds of stories didn't really have a script. I could be wrong on that, but looking back, it definitely feels like most of these episodes are just the actors having a basic idea of the story, and then they just roll with it and just see what happens. These characters talk about everything and nothing, and if you had me write down all the story aspects, it barely fills a paragraph. But this style of roleplay didn't need to follow the story because the characters themselves are what's the most interesting. It's crazy to think that this series came out 9 years ago. I remember when I was a kid, I always looked forward to seeing what kind of antics these characters would get up to, and just enjoyed watching these friends hang out, no matter how cringe they can be.
Let me see it.
And why do you want this thing?
When it comes to this kind of style of storytelling, there really isn't much to it. You have the occasional third-person perspective for establishing shots, or for special moments, and the rest takes place in the point of view of the main character, which is CarFlo. There's no editing or title screens or transitions or anything, just some good old character conversations.
In middle school, you used to beat up everyone, even the teacher.
I was a bully.
Okay, maybe I spoke too soon. Yandere High School's whole concept is exactly what you think it is, but it also isn't. You think with a name that simple and to the point, the story should be self-explanatory, right? Nope, this is nothing like what you're expecting. Not because it takes a unique spin on the high school trope or reinvents yanderes. No, it's because this show is barely about that concept entirely. Looking at the title, you'd think it would be about the main character being a yandere and they want to find their love, or maybe it's a messed up love story that takes place in high school, or perhaps it's about how yanderes are actually misunderstood and they need to be befriended and taught how to have a healthy relationship. No, actually, this story is a mystery show where the homeroom teacher tells everyone to catch the yandere for the final exam. I'm not even joking. The whole first episode is pretty slow and neutral, with CarFlo hanging out with his friends until the homeroom teacher just randomly tells everyone that someone in this school is a yandere, and they need to figure out who it is before it's too late. And that's their only assignment for school. How the teacher knows or is aware of the situation, I have no fucking clue. Maybe he's the yandere. You think telling the class that there's a murderer wouldn't be a good idea? But that's okay because this is a special class. Everyone was placed here because they have a special talent, and this special talent will help them catch the murderer. What the special talent is that the teacher sees in them? Fuck if I know. Also, if there really was information about a murderer loose into school, then why are we letting freshmen in high school deal with it? Heck, why are we announcing in the class where the yandere could be? It's never stated if they're in the classroom or just in the school, but you'd think he wouldn't just toss out the information so casually, especially if the whole goal is to catch the yandere. Bro, if I was a murderer and I heard that the school is investigating, I would lay low and never come to school ever again, or just pretend to be a good student. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm not making fun of this series, I'm just looking back at it and talking about the story and all that stuff, so please don't hate on this. So episode 1 starts with CarFlo not wanting to go to school and also using the toilet. This scene is very important, I promise. Wait, why didn't you wash your head? We meet our second main character, Chris, who loves kawaii things. Gosh, this is really showing its age, huh? They take the bus and we end up in the classroom where we see our next character, Ashley, who is the girl of the group and is also smart and responsible. We also have Garian in the back, but he's just here. We get some world building. Apparently this is a rich school and CarFlo's dad has a yacht and they go to Hawaii sometimes. This is my fanfiction, you can't stop me. Chris is also a bully. I sure hope that's important and we get some cool character interactions as he tries to befriend other people, because this is clearly important information, right? Right? So everyone is in the same class, which is class E, which is supposed to be the bottom of the barrel stupid kids, but actually this is a special class for catching serial killers or whatever. I'm guessing this whole plot is inspired by Assassination Classroom. If you're unaware, Assassination Classroom is an anime about an alien monster wanting to be a teacher, and the goal is to have these kids eventually kill their teacher before he sucks their face off or something. They even mention a kid who didn't show up to class named Nagisa, which so happens to be one of the main characters from that anime. It's unclear if my suspicions is correct on this, but I think it's a pretty good guess. Episode 2, our cast of funny characters go to the mall and talk about how poop is in McDonald's burgers. They then remember that yanderes exist, but then they go back to the poop burger conspiracy, but then gasp!
May I caress your hair?
What's up with you guys and touching my hair?
Very kawaii.
I mean, I guess you can touch it? Oh god.
Oh my god.
Watching? Nothing!
The gang finds blood in the arcade that's for some reason boarded up, and CarFlo has an inner monologue about how this is weird and he needs to figure it out, even though this is not in his character to do this, but yeah, we need to have the story somehow. Episode 3, we pick up right where the last episode ended and everyone has left except CarFlo. They got super creeped out and just left him to fend for himself. Honestly felt that. CarFlo can't help but feel strange how not only have they just boarded up the arcade, but there aren't any cops at this crime scene. It starts raining hard, so he starts wandering around till he finds this man laying on the ground, and wow, we're using even custom NPCs. That's pretty cool. You don't see that kind of stuff anymore. This man was apparently knocked out by someone after trying to investigate a scream. We look around some more and we find some blood on the floor along with a class schedule. A schedule for class E, the same class as everyone else. Meaning 2 options. 1, someone from the class was recently murdered, or 2, someone from the class is the murderer and left this behind. There isn't a body anywhere around, so it's hard to guess what exactly happened or if this is even related to why the arcade is boarded up. I mean, how can it, right? There's a small amount of blood here and there's no trail or anything, and there's just a full-on murder scene inside the arcade. So these have to be separate. We can link it to the security guard getting knocked out, so maybe this person dragged the body somewhere and dumped it? I don't know yet, but I'm excited to find out. We never find out. Carlos seems very excited as he walks around trying to buy an umbrella, and we get some cool shots. This episode overall seems higher quality than before, and I can really appreciate that. These random characters even have voice acting, and that's very much appreciated. I will say that this episode suffers a lot because it's just Carlo. Comparing this episode and the last is such a night and day difference, and maybe that was intentional. You have the goofy and laid back setting when his friends are around, but then when it's just Carlo, the whole mood shifts and becomes more quiet and serious, as he has no one to talk to and he just ends up talking to himself about what's going on. It's a little slow to get through. I can't really say that it's boring or not yet, so we'll see how the rest plays out. Also, side note, Carlo wonders who the schedule belongs to, but shouldn't the name and address be on the paper? I mean, when I got my schedule for school, it had all my information, my school ID, my name, my teachers, everything. Carlo wonders what to do and decides that he can't take it to the police because that'll make him look suspicious for some reason. Because apparently having the same class schedule means that you must be the killer? That doesn't make any sense. Even if they hold you in jail and think you're the murderer, you have the security guard who can vouch for you along with your friends. You have an alibi. Yeah, you are screwed though because you touched the evidence and now your fingerprints are everywhere, so good luck. All our friends are here and the goofy music is back. Woo! Ashley for some reason found a bottle of blood in the pet store and she thinks it's related to the arcade murder. Okay, yeah, sure.
Open blood, that's gross.
It's not one of yours?
No.
Oh.
Mine's at home.
I don't bleed on my class schedules.
Okay, that's pretty funny. So Garian found a note at the McDonald's, that says someone is missing. I know what happened to them. Okay, everyone else have any secrets they want to share to the class?
Someone accused me of something. They said I placed this in the bathroom.
Chris, what are you doing with that?
Yeah, okay. Episode 4 sleepover, woo! Carlo likes Ashley. Wow, who would have guessed? The main character's in love with the only girl in the friend group. No way! So in order to impress Ashley, Carlo decides to dress in his pajamas?
Those are some pretty tight boxers.
Hey, don't look that close.
I think I see something.
What?
He's got a small wiener. We do spend an uncomfortable amount of time talking about how Carlo isn't wearing pants, and there's a lot of jokes. Also, a fun thing about Carlo's character that I'm starting to see, he's very timid and scared most of the time, but occasionally, in moments like these where other characters tell him not to do something, he'll just get super defensive and just be like, you know what, screw it, I'm doing this anyways. It's kind of funny. Everyone arrives at Ashley's house and the boys make out. I have no notes for this. The next episode, Chris dances and makes funny noises.
What are you doing?
They try peeping on Ashley change. Oh, okay, this is getting out of hand. So the whole reason the gang's here in the first place is so they can use a DNA kit to figure out who the blood belongs to. But that's not how that works? The question mark? Unless they have a sample of everyone's in the school's blood, then it should be fine, but they have nothing to compare it to. And those kits that you can buy at Walmart aren't enough to... You know what, I'm gonna stop thinking about it. I love that they tried making the TV work, but due to the time and limitation of mods, all they have is this tiny cube. It's funny because they're like, it's supposed to expand. So Chris wants to play spin the bottle, so they go upstairs and he tries to kiss Carlo, and he also kisses Garian again, because yeah, sure. And actually gets to also kiss Carlo. Yay! I feel like this was all planned out, huh?
Let's just,
Okay, I think I'm done.
Yeah.
Guys,
Now I'm really blushing.
gonna fight you later.
So, Chris is a good wingman, or he just wants to get freaky with all the boys. Garian and Carlo both have crushes on Ashley, and Carlo wonders why Chris was really excited to kiss him. The plot thickens. So after Ashley says that size doesn't matter, which is true by the way. Shut up, I wouldn't know. We find out that the blood on the knife and the schedule actually belongs to Nagisa, the person who was missing from school earlier that day. Whoa! How they have his blood to compare it to, who knows, I don't know. They all then start accusing each other, and Carlo wonders why the basement light is off when it was on earlier. Everyone is suspicious to an extent, but there isn't any evidence to go off. The details about the light is a bit odd, but I'm assuming that means that maybe Chris is actually the Yandere question mark? It's a bit wild that he somehow found the murder weapon in the bathroom. So to figure everything out, they decide to go to the mall and investigate. investigate. The arcade is very whack. Everything is dusty and there's messed up records and chains hung up and stuff. They mention that this place must have been abandoned for quite a while. Garian and Carlo then have a bit of a moment. There's actually character depth here, and it's surprising that it's coming from the most uninteresting person here, which is Garian. It was already sort of established that he was poor compared to his friends, with him not having a phone, buying cheap sandwiches, and not paying for the fancy school, and even knowing how to lockpick and stuff. However, I feel kind of bad for the guy, and I can only imagine what his upbringing was like. I don't think he's the murderer. He's way too chill for that, and doesn't seem suspicious at all. And if he was, then killing Nagisa would mean something, but it doesn't. In fact, we learned that apparently Nagisa was super popular, but Garian was the only person who didn't know who he was. He was too distracted by looking out the window and making paper airplanes, I guess. If he was the villain, then that'd be a cool twist, cause I have no reason to suspect him. Carlo says straight up that Chris likes Garian, but he's confused because he thought Chris liked Carlo, leading to the question of who likes who. Carlo then grabs something and the security guard finds them, so they try to escape, but Garian gets left behind. Episode 8. Everyone has gathered in the living room and Garian is nowhere to be seen, so they try and wait for him, and they also dye Chris's hair. Carlo also makes a very good point. He doesn't think they should just have fun, but that'd be boring, so instead they talk about Ash's armpit hair being pink and Carlo trying his best to flirt. Can you even use blueberry jam to dye someone's hair? So Chris asks the most obvious question, does Carlo like Ash? And even Carlo is like, bruh, I thought you knew. Chris is a bit worried about losing his friend over this, and without explaining anything, he just mumbles that he wouldn't understand. He also repeatedly says, it's you and me, you to myself. You're supposed to be just mine. Carlo obviously doesn't understand because, well, he's been with Chris since they were kids. They've always been together. So obviously nothing is going to change, but as a viewer, I'm sure we're all screaming at our phone right now. Dude, I think he likes you. Garian calls from jail and now he needs someone to bail him out. I like the added shaders and the foliage. Big improvement. I love seeing stuff like this. Too bad everything's a bit laggy. So Garian just got out of prison. It isn't really explained. He just tells us that he switched clothes, then he was able to leave. So yeah, that's cool. Not like I was looking forward to any sort of story involving that. What? So back to boy talk. Carlo is wondering if he has a chance with Ash. And honestly, I don't think so, but luckily Ash is into weird and awkward guys, so you'll do fine. Just don't be a creep again. It's the next morning and we once again talk about finding Ash's underwear and wondering if they're poopy. Oh my god. So back to boy talk, because the pacing be damned. Carlo wonders if Chris likes Ash, but he doesn't know. It's complicated. They agree to talk more about it later at lunch. Chris excitedly calls it a lunch date, and we also have sound effects, so that's cool. So class is over, and Garian asks Ash to have lunch with him, and Chris takes Carlo to a nice restaurant for lunch. It's at this point that Carlo starts putting the pieces together, all while Chris makes them share a plate of food. Chris tries to explain everything, and I don't know if Carlo is doing this on purpose, but he keeps saying like, what do you mean? What are you trying to say? We are best friends, Chris. Dude, there's no reason for you to act this dense. You just said in your head that you can tell what's going on, and you mentioned that Chris is acting weird. Yet here you are acting surprised that Chris is confessing his love to you. Also, I like how they use the thumbnail here for the final scene. That's actually pretty cool. Episode 10, Carlo tries to tell Chris that he probably just loves him like a brother, since they grew up together and stuff. But nope, Chris is very firm on his feelings, and sadly, all Carlo can do is just let him down easy. I honestly feel really bad, but I can't help but blame Chris a little bit. Why did it take you so long to confess? Like, yeah, I understand that it's hard to confess to anyone, especially when you basically grew up with them, but every moment you wait, the more your chances slip by. The more you go on as just friends, and the more you're pushed into the friend zone, especially when your crush already likes someone else. Carlo said that he's liked Ashley since middle school. That should have been your sign to do it before you lose him, before all of his attention goes on Ashley. Now that you waited so long, things are definitely going to be weird between you two because Carlo is obsessed with Ashley. You finally confess years later, right when things are good between Carlo and Ash. So what now? What did you hope to accomplish? Also, why did you run? I get that's very embarrassing to have Carlo try and comfort you and say that he'll always be there for you, but this is your opportunity to show him that you can fight for him. What does Ash have that you don't? You're the most kawaii man that I know. Have some faith in yourself, dude. Don't let this hussy take Carlo senpai away from you. So it's the next day and Chris is nowhere to be seen. Also, apparently Garian and Ash always walk to school together, and this time they just chose not to, which is very strange when you take into account that Carlo and Chris also always walk to school together. Things are weird. Carlo randomly wants to go to lunch on the roof, and he can't help but point out that it's so nice and romantic, and you could just confess your love here. Oh my gosh, I know what's happening. Welcome back to Boy Talk. Yeah. So Garian asks what Carlo's feelings are to Ash. This is because Garian confessed to her yesterday and she turned him down. And he's apparently liked her since they were kids. And Garian said that he kind of hated Carlo because Ash likes him. The plot thickens. Carlo surprisingly goes along with what I said earlier, telling Garian that if you love someone, then you should fight for them. That's crazy. You know what, I like this. I like how they're both gonna fight for her. I do think it's important to show that you want to fight for someone that you like, but there is a limit. This is obviously a show, so I put all my money that Carlo just ends up with everyone in a giant relationship, but yeah, this sucks. Honestly, I relate to this, and I hope they can all still be friends after this, because getting rejected sucks. They make soup for Chris because he's sick or something, but he don't answer, so we just try to progress the plot. According to Ash, all the blood from the mall matches up, and the teacher confirms that the Yandere killed a student, which we already knew. How much you want to bet that the teacher is the Yandere just going around killing kids for fun? Garian says it might be Yuno, which is actually a Yandere character from the anime Future Diary. An anime which I despise and hate so much because it doesn't make sense and it tries really hard to be edgy and cool, and it fails at it. So Carlo wants to write Ashley a love letter and confess. Why? I don't know. I guess he finally realized how much he likes her, or feel like he needs to now because Garian shot his shot and it didn't work. I appreciate that Carlo, instead of texting her, is choosing to write a handwritten love letter. But why are you breaking into her house and sneaking into her room while she's asleep? Is this supposed to be romantic? Is this supposed to be cute? You tell me that you like watching her breathe? Dude, are you sure you're not the Yandere? Because this is stalker behavior. So it's the next day, and apparently there's some school trip to some island because anime. So now we're shopping for swimsuits, and the guys are wearing skirts because apparently that's funny. Wait, look at the physics on those. The model is actually really impressive. I like the way it moves. And look, the guys are trying to look at Ash try on bathing suits. Yeah. This show has one joke, and it's desperate to keep it going. Also, I'm gonna be that guy. I don't know why this is supposed to be the final straw. It's a swimsuit. You also already opened the curtain and went out when they saw you. They weren't trying to peep. It's not like they saw you while they were changing. Thankfully, they didn't do that this time. Yes, please sit these boys down and scold them, because this is awful and it's not funny. I get that this is an anime thing, but come on. If you really want to lean into those anime tropes, then go all the way. Don't just take bits and pieces, do it right. And the worst part is that the boys aren't even getting punished for this. The reason why it's supposed to be quote-unquote funny in the anime is because the boy usually gets smacked into the sky or punched or injured. It's like, haha, they accidentally saw her naked and now he's dead. Also, what is supposed to be the tone of this show? Am I supposed to take it seriously? Do I just watch for fun? Because the little bits of the murder plot is actually interesting and it was shown to be a very serious and kind of spooky thing, but then we cut the shenanigans in the love story drama. You can't just give me small bite-sized pieces of the Yandere plot and then go to something else for like 5 episodes. Absolute tonal whiplash, dude. If you just wanted a fun anime school romance, then do it. Don't lump in something that's actually interesting and then never explore it. Are you just not confident in your writing abilities? Then why did you agree to do this series? Look, I like casual shows next to the other person. I understand that not every show needs to be this amazing masterpiece, but seriously, it's not that hard to write for this kind of story. You have these characters all in one class who are supposed to solve this murder. Okay, cool, let's do that. Let's meet with the other characters and see what clues they have. Let's get some drama going because now maybe we don't trust any of our classmates. Maybe we run into someone and we think they are the murderer, but they actually are just trying to solve it just like us, and then they die because the Yandere took them down. Where are the police? This show is getting harder and harder to watch, and the worst part is that I'm barely interested in the whole idea of the Yandere high school parts. I mostly care about whether or not Carlo's gonna end up with Ashley, because that's what the story's building up to currently, and not the actual murder plot, which sucks because that's the whole point of the show. Okay, rant over. So episode 12, Carlo and his friends are on a cruise for their school trip. Carlo considers talking to Ash about the letter he left, but he's worried that Garian might listen to their conversation and beat him up, which doesn't really make sense because they are friends and they don't hate each other. Yes, they are rivals, but they already agreed that they approve of each other. So why would he beat you up? Sabotage you, maybe, but not full on hurt you. Yeah, I guess he did smack you a bit when you were flirting with Ash right in front of him, but that wasn't done in a malicious way. It was because you were doing it right in front of him. Okay, hold on. Now I'm interested to see how this plays out, because that could be interesting to have Garian first be okay with it until he starts getting more jealous and becomes aggressive. Now that's some good drama. Chris is just chilling by a nearby table, and this feels underwhelming. I thought this interaction would be more awkward, but it was just fine. Then again, only like a day and a half has passed since they last saw each other, so I guess it makes sense. It's great that they all feel like friends again. Probably not for long, because Ash read Carlo's notes, and she wants to talk to him tonight. Poggies! Ash's whole personality at this point is being the girl of the group, and whenever Carlo does something, she's like, it's okay, I still think it's cute, I believe in you. I enjoy some classic play sports in front of your crush to try and impress her, but this is so one-sided, it feels unfair. I feel bad for Garian. They're both fighting for her attention and he doesn't even stand a chance. You know what, maybe you should break his ankles. Ash meets up with Carlo and once again, it's kind of underwhelming. I really wanted this whole scene to be more, I don't know, romantic, sweet. I mean, here's Ash, Carlo's crush, someone he really likes, and this whole conversation is just, you want to do this? Yeah, sure, it sounds really fun. Okay, let's do it. Cool, let's do it. Out of all the times to be nervous, this is your time, Carlo. Yeah, they both like each other and it's obvious, and they both already know that, but there's not really any build up to this. Ash Ashley just says that it would be fun to go on a date and they just agree to do it. There's no wholesomeness to it, there's no longing, there's no awkward moments or pauses or stutters. They just ask each other out and that's it. This should feel like a bigger deal, but it's just handled so normally. It's jarring, especially after they mention Garian and Chris. There should be some weird feelings there because they both had to reject someone. You know, someone in the friend group? Oh shit, cliffhanger. Episode 13, someone was thrown overboard. The Yandere strikes again, oh my god! CarFlo tries to find his friend and he randomly runs up to Kaneki, the Tokyo Ghoul guy. Who the heck is this? So yeah, let's pretend this character was introduced a long time ago and is part of the side cast. Cool, we got it? Awesome. So CarFlo asks Kaneki if he heard what happened, but Kaneki doesn't. Also, he's kinda weird. CarFlo walks back to his room to change his underwear.
Ugh, I need to change my underwear. Ugh. Alright, that's much better. Now I don't smell like sweaty, gross person.
There's a cop in front of Chris's door and immediately CarFlo suspects Chris to be the Yandere, but quickly realizes that that would be impossible, and then he just goes on with his day with Ash. CarFlo and Ash's date is honestly pretty good, almost. This was a perfect chance to really show off their personalities and to let them flirt and just talk to each other. I mean, I wanted CarFlo to say that he's been dreaming of this since he was a kid, since he's liked her forever, you know? But they mostly talked about the incident. They are cute together, I will give them that, and I do like their chemistry, but it's so small when they flip-flop from having a moment with fun music and then back to talking about the murderer and then repeat that like 2 more times. Give me more cringe! I love when CarFlo asked to hold Ash's hand. That was genuinely cute. The music was also great. The camera was panning around them and just having them go back and forth about how nice it feels, like how great their hands interlock and just fit the right way, how they could just stay like that forever, until CarFlo ruins it by mentioning Garian. Man, why you gotta do that? If this keeps up, I don't see this relationship lasting if that's all they ever talk about. At least they kiss. That's a nice way to end the night. Episode 14, Chris and Garian went investigating off screen, and Chris is now a suspect in the murder of Yuno. Chris swears that he didn't do it, or so he says! They found a suicide note, so she probably just offed herself, right? But maybe not because she did scream. Randomly, a gun just appears in front of CarFlo's door. There was just knocking out of nowhere, and now there's a gun. Not sure if it's been used or if it has bullets, but someone is clearly trying to leave evidence behind in random areas. Or maybe this was all planned out? Maybe this might be a sign that CarFlo is next, because once the police find out about it, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. So Ash and CarFlo rub lotion on each other. Chris storms out and is clearly very upset seeing them act all lovey-dovey. Honestly, I've been in that situation before. It really does suck, and yeah, nobody's in the wrong here. Because CarFlo and Ash are kind of in that honeymoon phase right now, so they're going to act like this for a while, but it just sucks to be the third wheel. Sure, Garian's there too, but with Chris, it was much more personal. In fact, I bet it feels more targeted towards him. Especially with Garian, he probably feels very depressed with this because he's forced to try and play catch up and get the attention of a girl who will never like him back. Chris has changed, and I really like it. It's weird how different he is. Yeah, he's the same person, but the rejection must have really cut deep because I've never heard him talk so natural before. He's so serious and kind of blunt. I mean, it makes sense. He can't help the way he feels and he's fed up. I know things probably won't go back to normal, but space might be the best thing Chris needs. I'm sorry, CarFlo, but he's right. Yeah, you should support him, be his friend, but give him time to be by himself. Don't say you'll be with him the same way as Ash because we all know you won't. Honestly, good scene. Thank you for this. This was a good talk. Good job, Yandere High School. You actually did something right for once. Why did you bring the gun? I'm gonna assume Garian and Ash made up and are now friends again. Why do I think this? Because when Garian confessed, Chris confessed. And now that Chris and CarFlo made up, it would make sense that now Garian and Ashley would make up because they're by themselves, right? Right? So in order for CarFlo to forget the pain, he shoots the gun and goes skinny dipping, all while this random person watches. What the heck am I watching? Kaneki randomly appears and tries to comfort CarFlo, but it doesn't work. Ooh, am I sensing an evil arc? CarFlo, I didn't know you were spicy like that. They kind of just talk this whole episode. I don't mind this, but it just feels a bit random. I get that Chris can't be the only one he talks to all the time, but did we really have to have him have a conversation with
Kaneki, your eye. Well, great. Looks like my secret's out.
So, ghouls exist. I don't know anymore. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine.
It's so squishy in my trunks.
Wait, what?
I mean,
let's just move on. Another scene that is really well done. CarFlo is so stricken with jealousy and I guess just being insecure that he loses it. He doesn't listen to reason, he doesn't hear her out, he just gets mad and blames her. He raises his voice and all Ash can do is just tell her truth. Nothing happened. She could have tried explaining the situation, but she didn't really get the chance to. And worst of all, CarFlo just storms out, and even Garian is like, bro, you serious? Don't be an idiot, you're just imagining stuff. You know what? I like this. Go become evil. It doesn't take long for them to make up and talk to each other. Honestly, Ash is too nice. I'm surprised she's so easy to forgive. I mean, Carlo's outburst was a bit of a red flag, don't you think? Ashley says that she probably would have done the same thing, but I highly doubt that. Ashley is the type of person to probably get upset over this, but not burst out like that.
Ooh, it's hot. But this is a Speedo.
Isn't that what they call banana hammock?
Do you know why they call it a banana?
Why?
hammock?
Hey!
Hold on to this banana.
Oh my gosh.
No!
Do you like it, Carlos?
No,
senpai?
no,
Do you like
Ash,
it?
save
Come
me!
here.
Well, at least they're all happy. You know what? This is great. They're all having fun, goofing off, and being friends, though I can't help but feel like this is the calm before the storm. Actually, Chris is acting a bit weird. He's laughing a lot more, and he seems a bit more maniacal. I don't like the way he said unfinished business. Well, I'm sure it doesn't matter. I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah. Did you hear that?
That was really loud.
Oh wait, we gave Chris the gun. So episode 20. Gosh dang it, why? So yeah, we just skip and now everyone's back home. And we finally meet Carlo's mother, who is wearing a Sailor Moon cosplay, because of course she is. She's actually a great addition. I really like her personality. Basically a young and spry 40-year-old woman who aged like fine wine. And she's basically trying to get her high school kid to seduce his wannabe girlfriend, because plot twist, Valentine's Day is tomorrow. Also, really cool addition, the art on the walls, it's fan art, right? That's actually pretty cool. Man, I wonder what those people are doing now. Also, I want to point out again that I like how things look better than before. It really feels like this show is growing. We have more cinematic shots, there's more decoration, the shaders look great and it's not lacking, and we have a voice for Carlo's mother. Normally Carlo just reads the dialogue, so this is actually a great change. Chris comes to wake up Carlo and he's pointing the gun at him as if this is just a normal thing. This entire episode, Chris actually feels different. Comparing him to earlier episodes and now, he feels way more calm and subdued. Also, I think his crush on Carlo is gone, I guess? Or maybe he's just good at hiding it now? When Carlo is trying to find his uniform and ask for Chris's help, Chris just tells him that he feels uncomfortable going through his drawers. Which, maybe he's just being considerate, but I feel like, especially with him shooting the gun last episode and acting very strange, he would have taken this chance to go through his stuff. Or if he was the Yandere, taking this chance to just shove the gun in his drawer and just leave it there until the police found out about it. I don't know, I don't 100% believe that Chris is the Yandere, or evil for that matter, but I do think his hands aren't clean. We already kind of know that he's a little violent because back in the day he would bully people and beat people up apparently, so I wouldn't put it past him that he has a little bit of red. Just so casually giving the gun back to Carlo after his unfinished business is, well, finished. And when asked about it, he says he didn't hear anything, which is massive sus! Ashley and Carlo's relationship seems to be great. Perfect, in fact. I feel like secretly they've been listening to me complain about it because I loved this interaction. This tense and awkwardness was exactly what I was looking for. It's very short as Carlo just kind of runs away after getting his gift, but yeah, great episode. I think my favorite, in fact. Episode 21, their banter feels much better than earlier episodes. You know what? Maybe I was too hard on you. Maybe I've been wrong the entire time. Maybe this show is good. Randomly, we find the teacher, and we finally ask the real questions. Oh my gosh! Carlo is trying to get anything out of the teacher, like who's the Yandere, and are we sure they killed Yuno and Nagisa? How does he know about the Yandere in the first place? But nothing. He gives us nothing, no information. Carlo tries just giving a name out to him to see if the teacher will believe it, but not only does he know that Toka is innocent, but is also missing. Who's Toka? I have no clue, but apparently they're important. Carlo tries thinking back on anything he missed, if there's any clues or any mistakes he made. I mean, this trail can't run cold, right? I'm sure there is something that we overlooked. Then Carlo remembers back to the arcade and the messy CD, all the way back from episode 7, which I can confirm is true. There was a messed up disc back then, and Carlo even mentions how weird it looks. Now that's a callback. I wonder why we didn't grab it from the beginning though? Man, it's like this wasn't planned out from the start. Nagisa's message is pretty short, just him panicking about someone attacking him with a knife. Honestly, kinda lame. I know I'm being insensitive because this is literally his dying message, but he could have at least described what the killer looked like, because you know, he took the time to record his message on a CD. Because like, if you're being chased and you're bothering to record a message, make sure you say what you can because you're literally taking the time from running or calling for help to record an audio log. But no! Also, who stopped the recording? Did he do it because he saw that he was dying? That would be stupid because the killer could have said something that would have unrailed who they were, or even made noises or grunts that we could reference, or even footsteps that we could have figured out where they went. Or maybe the killer stopped the recording themselves? That's strange. Why would they put the CD back on the shelf then? Because Nagisa was dead, so someone had to stop the recording and put the CD away. It's not not a worker because the place has been closed down since the incident, so it must have been the killer. And even if it was a worker who had to close it up, then why did they bother putting this messed up CD back on the shelf? And if it was the killer, then okay, why didn't she take the CD then? 0 out of 10, my brain hurts. So, apparently, Nagisa and Carlo were childhood friends. That's news to me. Child Chris was also watching them from a distance, so that's probably important. Carlo wonders if he should show Chris the message since they all were in the same school when they were kids, but apparently Chris used to bully Nagisa. Chris is really starting... Wait a minute. I don't think this is Chris. I think Chris might be dead. Or something. So before Chris answers the door, we can hear him say, "Not the police again." And even Carlo is pointing out that he's acting strange, more strange than usual. So it's not just us thinking that. Also, something is apparently in his throat or his mouth. He also doesn't remember the talk or the meal they last shared with each other, and also says that he hasn't had a meal like this in forever, even though he just ate this with Carlo like 2 days ago on the cruise. This Chris doesn't know anything, just pretending and going along with whatever Carlo says. So I think Chris got shot. I think someone grabbed the gun from Chris and killed him and is now using his body. I have no evidence for this, but the thing in his mouth was weird to point out, so my mind immediately assumes that it's some sort of voice changing device, or I don't know. I know it's very out there, but I'm putting my money on it, because if ghouls can exist in this world, then so can this. Speaking of ghouls, episode 24 is all about them. So episode 25, yeah, no, I'm just skipping all this, it's filler. So there's another Nagisa. This Nagisa also isn't related to the other guy, he's just another guy named Nagisa. And also he knows about the infamous Class E, so that confirms that everyone knows about the Yandere and the mission, which I feel like breaks the immersion a little bit, but okay. So they break and enter and swim a bit and talk. Honestly, this is just very boring and disappointing. The important part to keep in mind though is that apparently Valentine's Day was months ago. So for some reason, nobody has been around in a very long time. So much time that Ashley now has blue hair. Oh no, I think everyone is being replaced by the Yandere now. Are they still dating or... Because like the last time you talked to her was Valentine's Day and that was months ago. I don't think you're a good boyfriend then. Ashley says that Chris randomly showed up and said a bunch of weird things and then just left. And we have a new character named Celeste, who also showed up during the cruise and threatened Ashley to stay away from Garian. Also, there's a school dance, so that's neat. So Chris is here, and plot twist, Chris's brother, Mike, is back, and he's Dangoist, and Mike is his twin brother. Yeah, I'm not joking. But who cares? We have a dance to go to. Who cares if there's a killer on the loose and we know who he is and he's targeting us? Let's have a great season finale. Yeah! Time for the next season. Whoa, everyone's back. Things are happy. It's like we forgot about the plot.
Okay, Ash,
that's a
stand
really
in
good
front
idea.
of the telescope for me.
Okay.
Hi there, beautiful.
Oh, Carlo, do you want to look at something else? What? Anyways.
Ash?
Whoa, 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 why is she so horny all of a sudden? She didn't have to turn around like that. So Mike went to jail off screen and Chris is bummed about it. So he has a gun again, and now there's gunshots. Next is the final episode. Wait, final episode? Season 2, episode 2 is the final... Okay. Mike is back and is going to murder Carlo, but he runs off after getting money, I guess. So he goes into hiding. The team tries to figure things out and Carlo tells us that Mike might be the Yandere. No way! Then glass breaks and we cut to black and that's it. That's everything. Except plot twist, there's more, kind of. So I didn't mention it, but everyone actually recorded their own POV to this series. So there's a ton we haven't seen yet. The only problem is that both Ashley's and Chris's channel are basically gone. And as far as I know, we don't have those videos archived. We do, however, have Garian's perspective along with his ending, so let's see what we can find out. So much like Carlo's start to the series, Garian wakes up and walks to school with Ash. It's strange how much more character we get from Garian now that we see things through his eyes. Back then, I thought Garian was the most interesting character, and already he has way more personality than Carlo does. It's not like I dislike Carlo's character, I just feel like his character was boring sometimes and inconsistent, especially when he was bantering with other characters and he had to improv something. But when it came to everyone else, it just felt more natural. Garian as a character is very lazy and sleepy and chill, and honestly just might be a little depressed, or maybe he just likes to be left alone with nothing. He says that all he wants to do is sleep and watch TV and nothing more. Garian looks over at Celeste, but she doesn't want to talk. Interesting that this character was shown in the first episode. Everything is pretty much the same until we get to episode 3. Garian found a random note during his investigation, something about someone missing. The sleepover is now happening, and yeah, the banter between Garian and Ashley is just great. They actually feel like friends and it's charming. It also makes me feel bad because all I could think about is Garian's crush on Ashley. I'm sure these moments are great, but I can't help but feel a bit sad because Ashley will never see Garian as anything more than just a good friend. Even though they get along so well and Ashley can laugh so much at Garian's antics, in the end they're just gonna be friends. That's all he's gonna be to her. I'm not projecting, you're projecting. Man, it feels even more bad because here's Garian asking Chris what he thinks about them together and trying to talk to Ash about it, but she's just calling him weird. It must have really messed him up. Do I think they would have ended up together? No, I don't. Would they be good together? 50-50. I'm not sure how much Garian really likes Ash and how they would act once they're in a relationship. When it came to CarFlo and Ash, they mostly stayed the same and kept the wholesome, flirty personality, but with Garian and Ash, they could hold a conversation and just talk. But Garian likes to call Ash names sometimes. I'm sure if they went on a couple dates, it would have mostly stayed the same, like dynamic wise, but I can't imagine Garian acting romantic or putting the moves on her. That would be something that he would need to work on and show Ash that he's a presentable young man. I don't know, I'm just thinking too much into this, but it's the same thing I said with Chris. You liked her since you were a kid, why did you wait so long? The longer that goes by, the less of a chance you have, especially if you're really good friends with them. Anyways, they investigate the arcade and Garian gets captured. The cop asks him to whip, oh no, and if he does, he gets to walk free afterwards. This feels wrong. He's a minor, isn't he? He's a good guy though. Garian didn't think twice about taking the blame. What a good dude. This is also the moment that Garian decides that CarFlo is his enemy. Every time CarFlo shows up, he takes Ashley's attention away. He's a problem. With a new change of clothes, he calls Ashley and gets out of prison and meets up with the others. The next day at school, Garian decides it's time. He needs to do something before it's too late. He asks Ashley to have lunch with him on the roof and she agrees. Everything is going well so far, so it's time to work up to asking the big question. Garian asks if Ashley ever misses when it was just the two of them. She immediately dismisses him and wonders why he would ever ask that kind of question. He goes on that it's just been them for so long, so it's a bit weird to share the time they spend together. Ashley hits right in the heart. Dude, I can't take this shit. Like, she's like, Garian, what do you mean? That's what friends do. Sharing is caring. Like, fuck off, dude. No more being around the bush. Garian says it. He loves Ashley. He always has and always will. And not even a second passes and she just hits him with the hard truth. She thinks of him as a friend. In a panic, Garian says that he was just kidding and the rest is just awkward. Fuck, dude. This is fantastic. He's devastated but still wants to try, hoping that one day she'll like him back. Man, I hate CarFlo too. Screw him. How dare you? I'm gonna be honest. So far, this is cinema. This is insanely good. 100% better than whatever the heck I saw with CarFlo. Things are awkward the next day, and when confronted about it, they just say that it's just one of those days. And fucking Ashley says that if she wanted to, she can walk with CarFlo to school. Fuck, I never really had a chance, man. I hate it here. Episode 11, Garian wonders if he can go over to Ashley's house because he doesn't want to go home just yet. He's still worried that things are awkward, so he tries to be patient and just talk to her. He walks Ash to her house and she mentions that she doesn't have any clothes, and Garian tries to convince her to go shopping with him. Just the two of them. But nope, she's like, but our friends, we should go together. Come on, man. I think one of the reasons why Garian works so well compared to CarFlo is because with Garian, it's a clear story. Garian is just trying to win over Ash and doesn't care about anything else. His point of view is very concentrated on just that. Meanwhile, CarFlo had other characters and his inner thoughts about Yandere and trying to solve it. It was just much more sporadic. Plus, his romance with Ash was barely developed while Garian is taking time to focus on that and to trying to win her over. Gosh, take a shot every time I say Garian's name. Episode 13, the cruise arc is finally here, and Chris is trying to help out Garian and give him advice. It's funny, but I see why. If Garian takes Ash away, then CarFlo is available for Chris. This is a nice moment. They genuinely feel like bro is just talking. Like they feel like friends, which is crazy because Chris is supposed to be CarFlo's friend, but I barely got that. Garian goes swimming for a bit and we see Yuno just relaxing by the pool, and she's just sitting there deep in thought. He obviously thinks nothing of it, but it's kind of spooky that he was probably the last person to see her alive. Chris calls and we finally get the rest of the details. He was knocked out and Yuno was stabbed and thrown overboard. And when Chris woke up, well, the police arrested him immediately. The only option is to try and prove his innocence, so they need to look around for clues. And thankfully enough, they find a sewer slide note in her room. Also, you remember how I mentioned CarFlo or even Chris getting an evil arc? Well, surprisingly, Chris offers to threaten Ash that he's the Yandere and he's gonna murder her, with the end goal of Garian coming in to save the day. This is really crazy because it clearly shows that they're starting to go off the deep end with wanting their crushes so bad that they actually think this is a good idea. This is cool because as a viewer, you don't know anything and you might just end up watching the Yandere without even knowing about it. It also paints Chris as insane so you don't trust him. This is great! Episode 14 opens up hard. Wait, that sounds wrong. CarFlo and Ash are holding each other and going in for a kiss, and Garian is just there, watching from a distance. Dude, now that's some drama. This plays out the same, so we'll skip it. But at the end, they end up getting caught and sent to their rooms, and that's it. Episode 15.
Wow, it's been so long since it's just been the two of us. Should we
Totally.
I got that.
I got
Me
it.
too. Me too. Me too.
Keeping it. Y'all saw it. You all saw it. Ashlyn.
No.
Mine.
Dude, this is so funny. So while CarFlo talks to Chris, Garian finally has a chance to talk to Ash, which is surprising, but Garian has really been busy and hasn't had the opportunity to just sit down with her and clear things up. This is also a point of character development for him because he feels much more, I don't know, I guess cool and more relaxed. He's still the same, but here he is making an effort to do something for Ash and try just to hang out with her. Before, Garian was kind of lazy and just following along, but now he's actually trying and taking initiative. We also learn a bit about him, like how he's kind of weird, but for good reasons. Picking out the bugs from the ground because apparently he wanted to save them. That's so innocent and cute, I kind of like it. It's very clear that he's a good guy since he does so much for his friends, but stuff like this especially makes me smile, makes me want to root for him even more. It's just really nice to see. I can only guess that everything that happened up until this point has caused him to be more sure of himself, more sure that he wants to chase after Ash and just get to see him the way that he sees her, even if he's wrong with it. Don't get me wrong, this is very cool that he's showing her this, but you missed the mark just a little bit, because obviously Ash is just being here being like, gross, it's dead. I don't know, maybe Ash is just a hater. Baby steps though, because even though he's hateful towards CarFlo, he still wants Ash to be happy. That means everything to him, and he's just trying to reassure her by asking just how she is. It's so sweet, especially when Garian hesitant to ask for a simple hug. It must have felt so nice. Ash really doesn't deserve him. And my boy, my guy, even after being on Cloud 9, he realizes that CarFlo saw them hug and he's a bit worried but tries to brush it off. He even hopes he's not heartbroken. Although, I'm a little worried because Garian sounds a bit off when he says this. The way he brushes off seems a bit strange, at least in his tone. Maybe he's actually going off the deep end. I was hoping this would be some really nice closure, but he really is in love with Ash, huh? I don't know, maybe this won't end well. It starts storming, so he heads back to his room and he finds a note from Celeste. She wants to take him to the rooftop and apparently it's important. Celeste thinks that it's strange that everywhere they go, trouble follows. Garian is obviously confused, but Celeste just tells him to go to the main lobby and see for himself. So he listens and we see this character named Karma talking with Ash. He tries confronting Karma, but it breaks into a fight. Karma just keeps going, egging him on and just pushing him further and further. I wouldn't even call this a fight, because Garian easily took him down. Garian runs off and tries making excuses that he did it to protect Ash. Karma was the one who pushed him too far and made him angry. He didn't come to start a fight, but he had to do it. At the end of the day, he really didn't mean to. He didn't mean to hurt him, but was driven to that point. It's hard to say if this is a new emotion for Garian, but it's definitely seen as if this is different, if this is a weird change for him. Chris comes in and they talk about it. You can really tell that he feels guilty about it. And when he tries to talk to Ash, well, it doesn't go well. I mean, yeah, it does feel a bit concerned to confront him just because he talked to her, and Ash isn't happy about that. She can clearly handle herself, because when that Karma guy leaned in to kiss her, she smacked him and made him back off. Garian reflects on this a little bit, and yeah, he's always getting into trouble. He starts to wonder if he's a lost cause, and maybe he should just give up. It's at this moment that CarFlo's fight happens with Ash, and he sees this as an opportunity, but yeah, it's not the time, dude. So, in episode 19, Garian actually is able to talk with Ash, but for some reason, this conversation is exclusive to her channel, and obviously we don't have access to this anymore, which sucks, so now we're missing some context. Garian speaks to Celeste, and surprisingly, she says exactly what I've been saying. Garian is a sweet soul, and Ash doesn't deserve him. Yeah, go off, queen. Garian tries getting Celeste to be friends with Ash so that she actually has a girl to talk to, and the gang meets up as we get back to the story with CarFlo in the hot springs. Ash doesn't seem to be all that thrilled to speak with Celeste, as she continues to fake her reactions and just tries to be supportive over this idea. We run into Celeste again, and she says what we're all thinking. I don't know, I'm not that tired of Garian always thinking about Ash. Don't get me wrong, I wish there was a bit more to his character, because that's all he ever talks about, that's all he ever does in this series. But I don't know, I still think it's interesting to watch, and it looks like this is finally the moment that Garian is able to let go. I just punched the mic. She gives him the hard truth. Sometimes you just gotta take a loss. After all, she already likes someone, and all he's been doing is putting pressure on her to like him back. Even back then, he asked Ash if she was happy, but does Garian really mean that? Cause here he is, still holding on to her, still trying to pressure her and still trying to win her over, even though he says that, oh, CarFlo's a good guy, I really hope you're happy, I hope you guys are great. This is not a conversation I expected to see. And it's weird because Garian surprisingly takes this to heart. He never thought to himself that he was selfish, but he is. He speaks to Celeste a little more, and she ends up being a really nice girl. A little rough around the edges, but she's kind of exactly what he needs right now. She doesn't give him advice or tips or anything, she's just there to kind of help him. Help him, you know? Not help with getting him with Ash, no, just help himself. We for some reason just skipped to class, and apparently it's Valentine's Day. Ash seems to be a bit weirded out that Garian is spending so much time with Celeste, and doesn't think of her to be a good person. Well, obviously you think that.
I can't believe it. Ash is actually getting jealous of Celestia. Like an awesome love triangle.
Dude, you have something good here. please don't ruin it for yourself. I've made this mistake before. Please don't lead Celestia on. Please don't just use her. She's really good for you, and it's clear that there is something here. So please take the time to really talk to her and really get to know her. Ash is not jealous, so stop thinking that. Garian ends up asking Celeste to a date, and it's kind of complicated. But thankfully, Celeste is actually insanely nice about it. She already knows that Garian is an asshole and is just hooking up with her to make Ash jealous, but instead of getting mad, she actually tries to understand him. And Garian surprises me a bit. He's not trying to say the right things or pretending it isn't like that. No, instead he's honest that he doesn't know what to do or how to feel. Any other girl would be fed up because honestly, this is a red flag. He's so hung up on someone else that won't even give him the time of day, and that means that you'll always be second place. But maybe it's because he's actually trying that she gives him a chance. Episode 22, we get the whole history of who Celeste is. Nobody likes her, nobody talks to her, she's always been alone, and she's fine with that. She's kind of grown this harsh attitude because, well, if everyone is going to ignore her, then she should ignore them first. It feels better that way. But randomly, this boy approaches her. She just wants to be left alone, but this boy continues to talk to her. He's nosy, he's blunt, he's annoying, but he's kind. He's nice to her, and he's just trying to make conversation. He originally only came up to her because he wanted to know if she knew where his bag was, but she never responded. So he just kept asking. He kept talking, and I guess he cheered her up. Since she appeared to be in a sour mood, he gives her a flower and walks off. And Celeste is just stunned. Immediately, she felt sparks. Who was that kid, and why was he so nice to her? But sadly, this spark wouldn't last. This kid that she met was with another girl, and she slipped back into her old world, a cold, lonely place that she's always known. We cut back to the present, and Garian wonders if they've met before. I mean, clearly they have, but Celeste actually dismisses this when he asks her about it. Episode 23, we cut out another conversation. Are you fucking serious? So, by using the power of a context clue, Celeste threatened and accused Ashley of something, and when he tries calling her, Celeste is actually offended and can't believe that Ash would make up a story to take them apart. After all, she's good to Garian. She never lied to him before, so why would she do something like this? We end up actually seeing a flashback, and Garian and Ashley are playing house, and this is just really sad. Garian is asking if in the future they can play house, but for real. But Ashley just says that it's getting late. She completely shrugs it off. Bro really never had a chance, huh? I mentioned it before that like, oh, Garian should have asked her out a long time ago, but clearly this is not his fault. I hate to sit here and be like, oh, Ash, you should have put your foot down. You should have like told him before. You saw the signs. You knew he liked you, but I don't know. This is a weird situation because what do you tell someone like that, especially when you're a kid? This is all just a messy situation, and it's finally time that Garian sees the truth. While Celeste goes to talk with Ash, Garian wants to sneak in and see for himself just what this whole situation is about. And that's it for season 1. I have no clue what happened. I assume it happened off screen or in Ash's perspective, but yeah, new school year. Woo! And that means all the characters get reset.
Are you guys like official now or something?
Well, no, not exactly, but...
So what you're saying is there's a chance?
Garian, don't get the wrong idea. I still plan on...
Ash, before you go any further, do you want to go on a date with me this weekend?
A date?
Yeah.
Okay, sure, but under one condition.
What's that?
It's not a date. We're just hanging out as friends.
Alright. It's totally a date. Yes!
Dude, why? But oh no, plot comes back and they meet up with Chris and CarFlo and the glass shatters and everything is destroyed, oh no! But thankfully it's the moment you've all been waiting for. It's time for the finale of Yandere High School, woo! So CarFlo is dead. Yeah, he died and he's naked. And Mike is here and we tell him that he's bad and he regrets his choices and becomes a good guy. But gasp, the house blows up and everyone dies. What the fuck? So everyone is a ghost and that's the ending. That's it. Alright, thanks for watching. Are you serious? So after reading the comments, it turns out that everyone's perspective had a different ending. What are those endings? I have no clue, but I assume it would have been just as stupid. So... yeah, what did I think about Yandere High School? Well, for one, it was all over the place. And just like I said in the beginning, this loved focusing on other things rather than the original plot. CarFlo's whole perspective sucked a lot of the times because I didn't really care about anything other than the investigation plot. It was set up as this big deal in the first episode, and I had high hopes for it. But I was disappointed because I quickly realized that this is not that kind of show. It was still fun to watch him hang out with his friends, and eventually I did get interested because the show finally found its footing, up until it lost it again. What I'm most surprised about is just how much I like Garian Garlian's perspective and his side of the story. It didn't feel like he was trying to mash together the investigation plot with the school drama and the romance. No, instead it focused on Garian as a person and his life and what he was going through. He just so happens to be in these scenarios and he did what he could to aid the plot, and I think he did a way better job at it than CarFlo. When it came to CarFlo's perspective, all he ever did was have inner monologues that basically consist of him talking about nothing. Then the plot would come smack him in the face, but we ignore it because we need more funny shenanigans. I feel like I never really got to know CarFlo as a person because we didn't know what his motivation was. Yeah, he was taking it one day at a time, but clearly he is wrapped up in the investigation, so why did he never do anything about it? Especially when it was later shown that he knew the person who was murdered, so there was stakes to everything. He could have gone through a whole character arc trying to do something to avenge him, but no, instead he focused on trying to get Ashley to like him, and it felt very weird. CarFlo as a character was inconsistent, but multiple, depending on the episode. Did you want him to be awkward? Well, we have episodes for that. Did you want him to be funny and say some unhinged stuff? Well, he could do that too. Did you also want him to be tragic because of the murderer? Well, yeah, that's there. He's also privileged because he's rich and he loves to point it out, but is also apparently lonely and sad until he isn't, and we learned all about his friends. I don't know, just pick a lane. I know characters can be complicated, but there's a huge difference when it's just the friends talking and hanging out compared to when he's with Ash or when he's trying to solve the murder. Garian, however, stayed the same and even went through little arcs. We knew the story from the beginning and it stayed that way and followed along until the plot forced us out of it. But once the plot was over, we went right back to what mattered. But even then, it was much more seamless because Garian is shown to be a cool guy to help his friends, so getting tied up in the murders actually worked out for him. It did get a little annoying with how much he was in love with Ash and just how much he would regress and just how hopeless he really was, but it was very enjoyable to watch, much more so than CarFlo's perspective. I feel like I was actually watching someone struggle through life and just trying to get through these weird, complicated feelings and emotions. The characters themselves are actually great and I always enjoyed them when they were on the screen. I really had no other problems other than the lack of cohesive story, but in those moments that they just hang out, I didn't really care about the story. They all bounced off each other so well and their improv only got better as the episodes progressed. This show has definitely aged a bit and there's a lot that just makes me cringe, but I could see why I liked it as a kid. I've already talked about CarFlo and Garian a lot, so let's talk about the remaining two. Ash is just there, she doesn't actually change or go through anything, and it's hard for me to sit here and say that because I'm not sure what was shown through a perspective, and we'll never really know what happened. The way I felt about her was pretty much the same way as Garian. He was just kind of there, but after looking at his videos, he easily became my favorite. Ash's personality is very consistent and she stayed true to herself no matter what. She really was treated as just a prize or just a girl of the group, a girl to be won over while her two guy friends fought over her. I never saw why she was in love with CarFlo, and I kind of hate how she just knew that Garian liked her, but still chose to be his friend and especially not let him know that, hey, she's not interested. Instead, she always just pushes those conversations to the side or just changes the subject. Thankfully, she finally said something when Garian asked her out, but she still agrees to the date. Yes, she changed it to a hangout, but you still said yes to him. You should have put your foot down and told him you weren't interested, but no, it's too late and you basically strung him along. I know you didn't mean to, I know you were a kid and it wasn't your fault, but through the flashback, it was shown that he asked you to live with him when you guys were older. You should have said something instead of choosing to be blind. I don't know, maybe Ash never truly knew, maybe she was dense, we have no idea, and that kinda sucks. I would have loved to see more of how she felt about the scenario and love to see more flashbacks where she did try letting him down, but Garian just didn't take the hint. It is also weird how involved with the plot Ash is, but she constantly has nothing to do. She always just kind of reacts to what the boys are doing, or she's strung along by their antics. Chris's character is very strange, but I liked it. He's the most cringy by far, but his arc of confessing to CarFlo was actually pretty enjoyable. You got to see his downfall and suspect that he might just be the yandere, but what quickly falls flat is that he clearly isn't. We never found out a lot, mostly because we don't have his perspective or the story ignored it. There's a lot of little clues and there's a lot of little things that we don't get closure on. Regardless, Chris stayed true to his character and I liked his friendship with Garian. It just sucks that it went nowhere in the end. I really thought he'd jump off the deep end and became the final antagonist, but turns out that job is for his twin brother, Mike, who sucked and was just thrown in there. It really does suck that this ended the way it did. It really had a lot of potential and I remember everyone loved watching it back in the day. Well, I guess it was fun while it lasted. Regardless, thank you for the series. I know I clowned a lot on it and judged it quite heavily, but it was fun to look back on it. This was actually a big part of my childhood, so thank you for that. I hope you aren't too upset with how much I judged it. I'm not sure if CarFlo himself or even Garian will watch this video, but in case they do, I would love it if I got the chance to speak with you and possibly do a small interview. I think it'd be fun to look back and hear some funny stories about recording these episodes or what it was like to upload back in the day. But yeah, that's all I got for today, so thank you so much for watching this video and I'll talk to you all next time. Goodbye!